I've been following the Bannockburn from Milton Ford up here towards Charters Hall Road. That's approximately just over half a mile. As you can see, the Bannockburn behind me, it's been raining recently, so it's fast flowing. The embankments are high, it's wide, and believe you me, it's not an easy crossing. Even if you go to Milton Ford, which was the original road in 1314, and the original medieval road in the 1300s, after heavy rain and fast flowing water, it is anything but an easy crossing, and that was the ford. That was the crossing point from Stirling to Falkirk, Falkirk to Stirling. That was the main way to go. Now, after the encounter at Milton Ford, the English knights have looked for some other way to get access to the Dryfield, which has not been easy. Now, if you look up behind me, what you'll see is the Bannockburn Heritage Centre there. So Edward Bruce is charged with defending that area. Now, walking from Milton Ford along to here, there really is very little possible crossing points, simply because the areas are wooded. They would have been wooded back then as well. The embankments would have been wooded. Although the areas where there are gaps in the trees, where the embankments are less steep, are very few. There are a few. I have taken some photos of them. But possibly you may get 2 to 3 knights at a time being able to pass. Now they've engaged Edward Bruce's division up there. How many? Not a full-scale battle by any means. Probably enough adventurous young knights to go over, circuit the bogs here, Halberts and Milton bogs. There's no way the cavalry would get through them, so that's a natural defence. But where they found the place to cross the Bannockburn, head up towards the higher ground where Edward Bruce's division is situated, they've probably engaged there. A little bit of sport, no mass killing by any means, although if there were any killings, it's probably been on the English side. So they have come back down after that encounter at the Bloody Fauld, recrossed the Bannockburn, gone right round, circuited it the whole way to Milton Ford, and gone onwards to the Carse. You really have to. It's imperative to understand the battle. It's not about just looking at maps and reading books and all the sources. You have to be familiar with the ground. You have to walk the ground. You have to go and look. It's the only way that you get a real sense of the area, what's possible and what's not possible. It's easy to look at a map and say, well, the English may have crossed here, or they may have crossed further up. When you go and see just how formidable the Bannockburn is, and just how difficult it is to cross the Bannockburn, you'll see how little options members of the English army had in trying to engage the Scots and get access to the Dryfield. They did not get access to the Dryfield at all on day one, and that's what led to Bruce's plan, his purposeful plan, with the battle taking place in the Carse on day 2. The Bannockburn here is... I wouldn't like to be in that. I wouldn't like to be trying to cross it. You would have to crawl, take care going down one side and crawl up the other side. Never mind an armoured horse and knight getting through there. When you consider the combined weight of those two, you would understand how cumbersome it would be, even for light horse, even for light cavalry. But you have to remember, these knights were geared up for war. They were geared up for a battle. What they thought was going to be a fair bit of sport, day 2 didn't quite turn out how anyone, including the king and his commanders, had envisioned it happening. But it did happen. But this is all about day one. This is all about me researching possible crossing points after they've failed to penetrate Robert the Bruce's division at Milton Ford. They've come here, tried to find another way across. They've ran into Edward Bruce. He's done his job with his men. They've gotten another bloody nose and they've made their way back along this most difficult terrain to lick their wounds. This wouldn't have dampened their morale in any way. This has been looked on as a small skirmish. That's all it's been. They've been looking forward to the main battle on day two, the sport, what they came here for. But go and look. Discover the ground with your own eyes. Walk the ground to get an honest, real feel of what's possible and what's not possible.